This is the last time Barry Gibb lies about John Lennon. He is 78 years old. Barry Allen Crompton Gibb was born on September 1st, 1946 in Douglas, Isle of Man. Barry grew up in a working-class family and moved around a lot as a child. He first lived in Manchester, England, and then in Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia. It was in Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia that Barry's singing career began to take shape. Barry had a natural talent for writing songs and melodies from a very young age. He often wrote songs with his brothers Maurice and Robin, with whom he had an almost mental, musical connection. Barry Gibb was the lead singer and main songwriter for the Bee Gees. He became known for being an innovator in pop music, especially during the disco era of the 1970s. His distinctive high voice became an important part of the group's sound. He also helped write some of the Bee Gees' most famous songs like Stayin' Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever, and More Than a Woman. These songs not only ruled the charts, but they also became the beat of an age, perfectly capturing the mood and rhythm of the time. Barry was a great songwriter who did more than just work with the Bee Gees. He wrote and produced #1 hits for many famous acts such as Woman in Love by Barbra Streisand, Islands in the Stream by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, and Heartbreaker by Dionne Warwick. He is known as one of the best musicians in the history of popular music because he could write songs in many styles such as pop, soul, and country. Barry was very important to the group, not only as the lead singer with his unique vibrato and falsetto, but also as the main composer and producer. Many people knew how good he was at writing songs because he wrote hits like To Love Somebody, A Salma, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, and Words, which all showed how he could put EP emotional truths into words and music. In later years, his high-pitched falsetto became the voice of disco, and the Bee Gees became famous all over the world in the late 1970s. When the Bee Gees contributed to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, it made them famous all over the world. The song sold over 40 million copies and cemented their place in music history. Barry's creative direction was a big part of this success. The Bee Gees are one of the most popular bands of all time. They have sold over 220 million songs around the world. Barry's impact wasn't just seen in the number of albums he sold, it was also seen in the many artists he helped and inspired over the years. He had an uncanny knack for writing timeless tunes. He could do it in hours, and the lyrics and emotions were always deep and honest. He was also known for how hard he worked and how much he wanted things to be perfect. Things about the Bee Gees that kept them popular through many musical times. Even though Barry Gibb is very famous, his life has been deeply affected by disaster. Andy died in 1988, Maurice in 2003, and Robin in 2012, so Barry is the only Gibb brother who is still alive. Their deaths had a big effect on him. He has been open about how sad it is that he will no longer be able to spend time with his brothers, with whom he made so much magic. Barry has not gone into silence, though. He has continued to perform and record music, carrying on the Bee Gees' legacy with unwavering dedication. The more personal side of his music was shown on his 2016 solo record In the Now, which showed the emotional weight he carries as both a survivor and a storyteller. In interviews, he often talks about the good and bad parts of his journey. He also talks about the special bond he had with his brothers and how his songs will always honor them. Because he has made so many important contributions to music, Barry Gibb has earned many awards and praise. In 2002, he was made a Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE. In 2018, Prince Charles knighted him for his work in music and charity. He is now officially Sir Barry Gibb. He is also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, once as a part of the Bee Gees and again as a songwriter. Even though these awards are impressive, they don't even begin to show how much Barry has changed culture. A lot of artists sample, cover, or get ideas from his songs, and new groups of musicians continue to love them. Barry Gibb's personal life has been full of important moments in his relationships and strong family bonds. He got married to Maureen Bates for the first time. They met when he was just starting out in singing. Barry got married on August 22, 1966, when he was only 19 years old. At that time, he was still adjusting to being famous as a part of the Bee Gees with his brothers Robin and Maurice. Their marriage happened at a turning point in his life, just before the Bee Gees became famous all over the world. The couple got married with good intentions, but the stresses of a music business that was changing quickly and personal differences caused them to split up. Before they decided to split up, they only lived together for a short time. Their marriage ended officially in July 1970 after being together for almost 4 years. Even though the relationship didn't last long, it was an important part of Gibb's early adulthood and emotional growth. When fate put Barry Gibb in touch with the woman who would become his lifelong partner, a new chapter in his life started. Barry met Linda Gray, a former Miss Edinburgh who was stunningly beautiful and calm and helpful, while filming an episode of Top of the Pops for the BBC in London. At the time, the show was a famous place for seeing the biggest acts. They felt an instant bond with each other, and their relationship grew quickly. The couple got married in a small wedding on September 1st, 1970, which was Barry's 24th birthday. It was the start of a deep and lasting relationship. Barry's marriage to Linda, on the other hand, was solid and loving, and it has lasted for over 50 years. Barry and Linda Gibb are so proud of their 5 children that they have raised a big family together. In this group is their oldest son, Stephen Gibb, who was born in 1973 and wants to be a musician like his dad. Stephen is a great guitarist and has played with many rock and metal bands such as Black Label Society. Ashley, Travis, Michael, and Alexandra, Barry's other children, have all gone their own ways in life, but they are all very close to each other because their parents stayed married for a long time. As a father and grandfather, Barry has taken on his roles with kindness and love over the years, and now he has 7 grandkids who keep him happy and give him a reason to live in his later years. No matter how hard it is to be famous and spend all your life in the press, Barry Gibb has always put his family and close friends first. Barry has strong ties to both his home country and the place he now calls home, in addition to his duties to his family. Barry Gibb was born on the Isle of Man and raised in Manchester, England. He moved to the United States in 1974 when the Bee Gees were at the height of their fame and has mostly lived there ever since. In 2009, he and his wife Linda became naturalized citizens of the United States. This was a big moment for them that showed how much they loved living in America, but they also decided to keep their British citizenship, which shows that they were proud of their heritage and dual identities. Gibb lives in the US most of the time, but he still owns property in the UK, a place he feels emotionally linked to and often visits. One of the most interesting things about Gibbs's home in the US was that he bought a famous house with musical roots. Gibb and his wife bought the Tennessee home that country music stars Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash used to live in January 2006. Gibb had long admired Johnny Cash and had a dream of turning the old house into a place where artists could get away and write songs, a spot where old singing traditions could be seen and new ones could start. The house caught fire on April 10th, 2007, while it was being renovated, which was a terrible tragedy. The fire, which was thought to have started by accident, burned the whole house and made Gibb's plans for the retreat heartbreakingly impossible. Still, a new house was built on the spot in the end, but the magic and history of the old one could not be replaced. In 2014, Gibb and his family decided to sell the house. They did so with humility and a sense of gratitude for the memories it held. Barry Gibb has stayed true to his values of love, loyalty, and creativity through all of his personal events, such as weddings, having children, moving, and real estate investments. Many people in the entertainment business think that his long-term relationship with Linda Gray is one of the most successful and stable in the business. His love for his family is just as important to his legacy as his musical successes. After many years, Barry Gibb, the last member of the famous band the Bee Gees, has started to think more openly and honestly about the people, events, and relationships that shaped his life and work. He is now in his late 70s. Many people have long thought that Gibbs's private thoughts and interactions with Beatles members, especially the mysterious and famous John Lennon, were one of the most interesting parts of his past. For decades, music fans and researchers have been curious about how the Bee Gees and the Beatles really got along. Both bands were big in the music world at the same time, but their musical paths and public personas seem to be in different orbits. But now, after years of polite silence, Barry Gibb has finally decided to be honest about how he felt about John Lennon, a man who did more than anyone else in history to shape the cultural revolution of the 1960s. Barry said that his respect for John Lennon went back a long time, even before they met. Barry and his younger brothers Robin and Morris were all teenagers in the early 1960s. They were all greatly affected by the raw energy and revolutionary sound of the Beatles. Gibb said that hearing Please Please Me and he was interested in more than just the tunes and harmonies. It was Lennon's attitude, his honesty, and his brave willingness to try new things. Barry told the band that Lennon was more to him than just a rock star. He stood for the freedom of art and the change in society. Even though they were very popular musicians, the Bee Gees were still a little amazed by the Beatles at first. Barry talked about how scared he was the first time he met Lennon, which was at a party for the music business in London in the late 1960s. Gibb said that when Lennon walked into the room, he had a powerful aura that made everyone pay attention. But Barry noticed more than just Lennon's presence. It was his sharp mind and strangely gentle, comforting sense of humor. When they were alone, Lennon could be kind and thoughtful, but in public, he was seen as rude and angry. Barry remembers that Lennon told the Bee Gees that their vocal blend was beautifully strange. This comment stuck with Barry for a long time. Through the years, when Saturday Night Fever came out and the Bee Gees ruled disco in the 1970s, they became very famous. Gibb said he often wondered what Lennon really thought of their change. Some critics wrote off disco as a passing fad, but Barry always thought that Lennon, who was also a boundary breaker, admired their ability to change and grow. It was true that Gibb never got to ask Lennon directly, but when he talked to Lennon's friends later, he found out that John had secretly respected the Bee Gees' songwriting, especially how they could write hits that people really connected with. But Gibb also said that the emotional relationship between the two groups was complex.